Welcome back. This week's project is going to be from the one, the only, the Wandavision. So as you can tell, I'm very overexcited to do this one. I'm going to be starting from the very beginning with Wanda's evening 50s dress, which from behind the scenes footage we know is a lovely light duck kind of blue colour, hence why I've got all of this. Which I got very lucky with and found on a dead stock fabric website that I currently frequent, but it was also in a 50% off sale, so I got a lot for not a lot of money, which is always good. I'm going to start by tackling the bodice, which I'm drawing myself, which I'm feeling super confident about, and then I'll be moving on to the skirt, primarily because I did notice that there's like more of a pleat kind of thing going on with the skirt, and the pleats start from like here-ish and then go round, and the front bit of the skirt is actually flat, and the pleats line up with where the seams of the bodice are. So that's why I'm doing the bodice first. I'm gonna stop yapping and get on with it. So first things first, I need to get rid of the fabric and get some pattern paper. Okay, change of plan. I was gonna draw the bodice just from scratch, but I do actually have a pattern for a different type of bodice. The structure is roughly almost right, so I've got out those pattern pieces from that bodice, and I'm basically gonna use those as an outline to basically draw the connections where I actually need them versus where they actually are on this. Not sure if that made sense, but it did to me. In this one, there's extra panels in that it's got your center panel, it's then got a front side panel and a underarm side panel. Whereas for the Wandavision dress, the front side and the underarm side are one panel rather than two separate ones, and it's the same on the back. So I just need to join those panels together as well. I'm feeling good about this. This might be way quicker than drawing one from scratch. I feel confident. Pencils. Pens. Now, this pattern also does have a V shape coming in at the bottom of the front of the bodice, which I obviously do not need. But I'm leaving it in just because I like to have the extra safety of somewhere to attach the skirt to. Better to have a bodice too long than too short, basically what I'm saying here. To combine the two front side panels and the two back side panels, I essentially just lay them down together on the actual pattern paper and made sure to overlap where the seam allowances are to take those out, as those were already built into the pattern that I was using. Once my pattern was ready, I then lay out the fabric so I could cut out all the different panels. This fabric's a pain in the ass. I'm basically just using some books to weigh down the fabric so it doesn't just slide off the table, because it's a very slippery fabric. I also cut out the same panels in cotton so that I could put an interfacing onto it. This is basically just because the actual blue fabric I was using was very thin and slightly see-through, so adding the cotton interfacing would make it, one, not see-through, and two, a lot easier to actually sew together, as it wouldn't be sliding around all over the place when I had it in the machine. I then pinned the top layer and the interfacing together for each of the panels. Once these were all pinned, I then zigzag stitched around all of the edges, as I don't have an overlocker and this basically works the same way. Then I pinned all of the panels right side together and machined along my seam allowance. I also made a quick lining out of an old bed sheet, but I won't bore you with the details. Welcome to day 2. I still have a headache. On day 1, I managed to get a fair bit of the bodice done. I've not entirely finished attaching the lining. I still need to do the armholes, which are proving to be tremendously fiddly, so I'm having fun with that. But I will basically be skipping a step a little bit, and I'm going to circle back to the armholes because I want to do something more fun and I want to feel more productive. So I'm going to be cutting out the skirt today. I'm going to hopefully finish assembling it, and maybe if I'm super good and this headache doesn't completely demolish me, I'm going to be attaching the skirt to the bodice. Fun fact, the width of my fabric is not long enough. Basically means instead of doing a nice easy half circle skirt like I wanted to, the width of my fabric is not long enough to do that, so I'm gonna have to do a full circle skirt, which basically means making it out of more panels, which means more work. Okay, I need to redo some maths to figure out how to do this in a full circle. I'll be right back. I used pins to mark out the measurements for the skirt, as tailor stroke doesn't particularly show up on this fabric too well. For the second panel, I decided to use the first as my guide so I wouldn't have to actually measure it again. I also made sure to cut the notches along the waistband to make life a hell of a lot easier when it came to actually assembling the skirt. As you can see, it's very swishy. I quickly whacked all of these panels through the machine to join everything together, leaving space for my zipper on the back panel. Now I have the really fun job of figuring out how to do the pleats on the skirt. I'm not very good at pleats, this should be fun. I definitely know the pleats start from the point on the bodice with the seams and then go outwards around the back, so the front is flat. So I'm gonna somehow try and get this massive thing pinned in place and pleat it on the mannequin and see how that works. Yeah, that's a plan. Oh, I don't feel good about this. This is where notches are coming in handy because I put a notch at the centre front, so now I know where the centre front is. Otherwise, I'd be very lost right now. They're also box pleats in case anybody cared. I've just noticed there's marks on the fabric right at the front that I am going to have to ignore because there is nothing I can do about that. You won't notice it, that's fine. I finally shut up talking and actually got to work on doing the pleats. By the end of this very lengthy process, my arms were just about ready to fall off. Finished putting the lining in, zip out, ready to attach to the back. Definitely not the right colour, but it's a concealed zip, so you won't see it anyway, so it'll be fine. Or at least it will be in theory. I'm actually not that good at putting them on, they don't actually tend to be concealed, but I can hope. After I put the zip on, I will be putting my already made bit that goes around the shoulder, like so. It's a continuous piece all the way around the back, so it must be like a case of it's not attached at the back and you kind of just like loop your head through it when you put it on, but it's attached at the front, and like the way that it moves about in the actual show means it also must be attached to the top of the shoulders. It's going to be really fiddly to put it on. And then I need to make the bow to go on the front as well. And then the only thing left to do will be to hem the actual dress, because I haven't done that yet. But the main reason I haven't done that yet is because I have ordered a custom made petticoat to go underneath it to give it the volume. I am so excited for it to arrive. It's from this really awesome business, and you can basically just completely pick all of your parameters of what you want your petticoat to be. So I've basically just had this entire thing custom made to my specifications, which is very cool. Let's crack on with it. I started by using pins to mark where the zip needed to go. I then used a long stitch on the machine to actually tack this together so the zip would be concealed. Once I tacked the back, I pinned the zip in place on the inside, and after about 5 failed attempts, managed to actually machine it down. Of course it's me, so there was one final cock up when I was so close to the end. Well, that was a nightmare. Like, I know I told you I'm bad at zips, but I can't believe I started sewing a massive fold in the bodice to itself again. The 4th time I've done that this project. Oh my god. It's not the neatest. I'm hoping that once it's like ironed in place and I unpick the bit on the outside, the overlapping folds to actually conceal the zip will mean that you won't actually see how wibbly some of my stitching lines actually went on that. Ta-da! I was so genuinely impressed that I'd finally managed to achieve a concealed zip. But then... So as you can see, concealed zip is not necessarily all that actually concealed. I've never actually been able to get one to be actually concealed before, no matter what I try. Just lying down flat, it's completely hidden, but as soon as you put it on, it's not anymore. And it's not because it's too tight or anything, because there's actually loads of room. It's not tight against the bodice at all, it's quite loose. Don't know why it does that, that's what it does. The next thing that I need to do is the shoulder piece. I think I'm just going to be fudging it because that's the best I can do. So it definitely doesn't attach to the back, and you'll just basically just be able to loop your head around it like that. I took these into each other and hand sew it so you can't see any stitching. And then this will go at the front, be scrunched and then concealed by the bow. Feeling a little bit better about this now. This might actually be somewhat adjacent to decent, which is a high praise from me. Sewn it into a nice band now. Hopefully that'll make it easier to actually put on. It was not. I made my little tube, but I did it ever so slightly too long still. So it will either sit too floppy at the back or be too low down on the front. Right now it's sitting nice on the back because I've pulled it down further on the front. Like so. Because rather than here, it should be more about here. So I've brought it down probably like an inch or 2. So the shoulder problem is proving just as difficult as I expected. I ended up having to try the dress on and putting some pins in whilst I was wearing it to try and mark where the shoulder piece needs to go on the areas of the bodice. It was really, it's a fiddly faff. I think I'm going to try and sew that on, or at least tack it on, and then try it on again and see how that goes. Let's walk away from that stress and make the bow. It's a very basic one, so all that was needed was a fat rectangle and a long rectangle. Once machined, I just had to turn them right side round and press everything down. I then hand stitched the last edge shut, and for some reason did not film me actually assembling the bow, so I will just leave that up to your imaginations. Last day. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to make the belt. Full disclosure, I completely forgot about it. I've been looking at the pictures this morning trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it, and it has a definite point at the end of it. I can't tell whether or not it's a continuous thickness the entire way through or if it widens out at the end. And honestly, I can't figure it out. I don't entirely know what I'm gonna do. It will just be whatever I decide in the moment of actually cutting out the fabric, I guess. In other news, my petticoat is arriving today. It's coming today at 3 o'clock. So I'm getting very impatient for it. As soon as I have the petticoat, I will be able to actually hem it to the right length. And then that's pretty much the dress finished. Let's do it. I'm quite chaotic when it comes to owning pins. I basically shouldn't be trusted with them. I have a very, very, very bad habit of taking them out of things and then just dropping wherever I am and then just leaving it there until I need more. As you can see, this fabric has become very scrappy in what's actually left of it, so I'm really not sure how I'm going to get a long belt out of this. Okay, I found a segment that's long enough. It might literally just about make it. Got my belt all pinned in place. I've done these shapes on the end that kind of widen, trying to essentially mimic the shape on the dress. I'm not sure if I've done them too exaggerated or not, so I might be trimming them down. I'm basically going to just quickly test this against the dress and see how it looks, possibly trim it down, then just quickly whack it through the machine, press it all in place, and then attach this sucker to the dress. Let's go do it. I have made my belt piece. I have had a not completely terrible idea. Essentially, I'm incredibly impatient, and even though my petticoat is coming this afternoon, I don't want to wait that long. Come up with an idea of how I can essentially do a mock of a petticoat. Not sure that's the right word, but we'll go with it. So I can hem the dress without actually having the petticoat yet. Which brings us to Exhibit A. What I have here is my mannequin with 2 different big petticoat 50s style dresses on it to create the shape of my petticoat. Considering that's on top of 2 dresses, that's not bad. It's what I like to call the art of fudging it. I measured the length I needed the skirt to be from the waist down and then put some pins in place to mark it. I then used the pins as a kind of dot to dot to cut along. And then made some final close-up trims to try and get it as level as I could. Oh, really aches your arm after a while. I think that's done. It's kind of hard to tell. Ooh! She's here. I'm so excited. It's wrapped in some very nice tissue paper that I have already just destroyed. I love her so very much. Obviously, it's been in transit, so it needs a little bit of a steam because it's a bit crinkled. And it's got all of the nice ribbon trim on the base as well, so it's going to look really nice underneath the skirt, like in motion when sometimes you see the petticoat underneath. I love it so much, I love it so much, I love it so much. And here's a shot of me slowly twirling, just in case anybody wanted the complete view in colour. I'm so happy! I am so surprisingly happy with how it turned out. Like, it's not perfect, I will be the first to admit that. Overall, it turned out way better than I thought it was going to. The shoulder piece was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It just wouldn't sit right. I mean, it's my own fault for using the wrong type of fabric. It's not a perfect match for the film. I already know where it went different. For example, my bow is a lot lower down, but I had to do that because I made the band for the shoulders too long, so it was either gonna fall down at the back or it was just gonna have to be fastened lower down at the front. And having it lower at the front seemed like the lesser of two evils. Of course, I could have just redone it, but I wasn't going to. I love it. It's so comfortable to wear. I made it a little bit bigger than what it needed to be, so it just sits nice and loose, and that makes it really comfortable, which will make it a potential good convention outfit. If I were to do this project again, I would do it in the correct fabric. That is the only thing, really. I would just do it in a taffeta, just to make life a hell of a lot easier. I will be doing an actual full shoot for this costume, but I will be doing it with the actual proper hair and makeup and basically getting it as close to the actual thing as I can, and I'm very excited to do that, and that'll be in the next couple of weeks. I feel like I had more things to say, but I have no idea. I'm so distracted by how freaking happy I am with this dress. Yeah, I'm so distracted. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say. If I think of it, I'll let you know. Oh, I should probably say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching again. If you want to see more of my videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Please like, please comment. I love hearing from you all. And please stay tuned for yet more Wandavision looks, amongst other crafts and chaos. Why can't I word? No? What? Words? Manually. I'm going to manually. Blech.